basically at risk in the collapse zone, fighting the fire. They should have been much further back, or at least somewhat further back than where they are, right? This is all.
Yes, sir. That man should not have been there. Them two should not have been there. That's the building right here. They didn't move the truck for this one. This is what collapsed.
If you look closely, you'll actually see a chief officer in the one picture. It's a little blurry, but there's a supervisor. And you got a firefighter on this building. You got a ladder showing firefighters in this building, people inside that building. It's unacceptable. It's one of the basic things of defensive operations in the fire department. To set up a collapse zone. It wasn't done. There's no evidence of it. We talked to members that were there. Nothing.
And it's the job of the safety officer coming in on usually on the second alarm to immediately set a collapse zone and then convey it to the sector commanders to make sure.
Well, on the second alarm they dispatch a safety chief, and then on the third alarm they dispatch an incident safety officer, which will provide. There's no actual operational procedure on it. It shows you all the responsibilities. You'll see it in there time and again. Collapse zone, collapse zone, collapse zone. Safety of members, safety of everyone. No command, no control, no communication. It seemed like on the shop.
Bill or Mike, should those 4 firefighters or any of the firefighters gone into that furniture building to begin with after the fire was declared under control?
In our opinion, they shouldn't have went in there at all. They shouldn't have went in there at all. There's a risk versus benefits analysis, what we're talking about. I explained to you earlier. You know, you pull up to a dilapidated dwelling or building that's falling apart and there's a lot of fire. The chief's going to make a decision. We're not sending people in there, but somebody should. Hey, there's a homeless guy living there. Okay. The chief may say, all right, well, because we're paid to take risk, you know, for a benefit. So the chief may say, all right, ladder 10, take 2 of your guys. You got 2 minutes. See if you can find anybody. Then get out. But this is a case where it's a furniture store. What are we worried about? Some furniture burned?
And who is responsible in that scenario for establishing the collapse zone?
Ultimately, the incident commander is responsible for everything.
And
The incident commander should have been Car 1. It wasn't. Our job, firefighter world, it's a chain of command. We're quasi-paramilitary. Every one of us answers to an officer a higher level. Starts at the top. He's responsible for everybody. Chiefs, deputy chiefs, captains, lieutenants, firefighters. Companies answer to lieutenants, answer to chiefs, answer to deputy chiefs, answer to the commissioners.
If you look in your media packets, we have another operational procedure there. It's number 19, I believe. It describes the incident command system and how things are broken down as the incident grows in size and delegate authority, command, control, coordination. We're showing no evidence of this. And the only people we talk to, safety didn't communicate with the incident commander. Hey, the furniture store could be in the collapse zone. You might want to keep everybody out of there. Place somebody at the door. Don't let nobody in the furniture store. Didn't happen. So again, complete breakdown of our own operational procedure that everybody should know. We're on every apparatus in every firehouse. Every member that's studied for promotion pretty much memorizes the operational procedure.
Basically, those 4 firefighters were ordered by somebody somewhere in the chain of command to go into that building.
Lieutenants and firefighters take orders. So do captains, so do chiefs. Everybody takes orders from the top. It's not just the. I mean, this is the building. This is the mayor cutting. There's a lot of wrong here.
Bill, did you ever hear anything from Rescue 1 that they had previously been in there, came out and warned not to go back in? Can either of you?
We still didn't see. There's been no critique, and we haven't seen the reports. We made some phone calls.
There's audio tape available on YouTube of the fire. However, that's the main fireground communication. There's also communications that people can't pick up with regular scanners, which is our TAC channels. And I think once NIOSH, the grand jury, gets a hold of them, they're going to get to the bottom of who knew they were in that building, who sent them in that building. But we're hearing the same whispering that, you know, they didn't go in there on their own just to, you know, check on something. You get orders. You don't do nothing until you get ordered, pretty much, from your supervisor.
Mike or Bill, the collapse zone seems to be the most damning of all of your arguments there. Is this something that's isolated to this one fireground, or you think this is a symptom of something that has gone on for years of a failure to establish collapse zone? It's just that this one was a fail.
Philadelphia, we're firemen fight fires 2 different ways. Aggressive, offensive, and defensive. Offensive, we run in, find the seat, knock it down, ventilate. Defensively, we write it off, we take our safe distance, and it's a controlled burn, we protect the exposures. Anytime it's a defensive attack, we create what's called a collapse zone. A collapse zone is a 360-degree circle around the height of the building plus a half. Falls anywhere around, nothing falls on
And
it.
the reason for that, you can see in the pictures, look at the brick debris spread across the street on the pavement, and you have a young firefighter on that pavement. So what's to say when that comes down, it's not going to crush that kid?
Okay, so this is already collapsed.
And how often isn't that happening, where that collapse zone is just not being set? It's just that it's the way it's sort of always done, they just ignore those SOPs.
Usually, collapse zones that I've seen in my 18 years on the job, you'll have caution tape, which we think that's even inadequate. They'll caution tape the street, block the street off. And I've seen in instances where they post a lieutenant or a captain and say, hey, off limits, and he's kind of the watch guard for that. But for everybody we talked, all the pictures, you don't see any of that. You looked at the videos, no reports of any of that.
Bill, the week after the fire, when the Philadelphia grand jury was announced, you were critical of the, obviously the building's owners for being reckless. Can you assign culpability here between the building's owners and the leadership in the fire department? Who is more culpable in this?
They're all equal. So is the mayor. That's for the reports, the professionals to figure it out. Then we'll come in. The building shouldn't exist in that condition. That building, I was born like 3 blocks from that building. That building's always been there. It was, in the 60s it was used as, I don't know what, slot factory or something. But that's been laying for 20, 30 years. Like that. They seal it up, they get in, their whole neighborhood. And the neighbors have been complaining for years. And we probably have 600 more buildings just like that in the city. And what they are is death traps to us. And it's got to be taken care of. Firefighters are not expendable.
So to be clear,
Yes, ma'am.
a collapse zone is supposed to be set up when there's believed to be no one inside a building, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And,
Exactly.
and what are the other conditions when, I guess, the fire is obviously very strong, like just what are the other conditions when a collapse zone?
If you're going defensive operations where you're not committing personnel inside with hose lines, setting up, we call them glues, guns, they throw thousands of gallons of water, the collapse zone is established from that point on till the very last hose line is taken up, because as we throw water into those buildings and hit them, we've got very powerful streams. They're saturating the wood, washing away the mortar joints. The building's being demolished right before your eyes, between the fire, us throwing all the water in. The floors saturate all the water, the wooden floors, and things just come apart. And it looks like, at that far picture, most of the building collapsed, and it was almost like people let their guard down. Like, well, there's a little section of it, that won't come down, that's crazy. It's still there.
You folks mentioned that Commissioner Ayers wasn't there, and Deputy Commissioner Hargett got there after 3 bells, so technically Devlin wasn't in charge. Where in the continuum of the 5 bells should the collapse zone have been established?
An exterior attack. As soon as they went to an exterior attack, that's the moment you set up your collapse zone.
It's in every basic firefighting textbook, the operational procedure. Two of the first things you do with defensive operations, you take a personal accountability report. Where's everybody at, so you know where they're at, set up the collapse zone. So, every book you'll open, talk to retired chiefs, will tell you that. It's automatic.
We, for years, since the company closings and then the brownouts, have been warning of these catastrophes. We had Frankie Marasco out on 57th Street with a monthly response time when a local company around the corner was sent to the other end of the city because they burned out during the day for maintenance. He got killed. The 2 Cambodian kids, the Tang brothers, over on Spark Street, they died. Down in Engine 14's local. Engine 14 no longer exists. There's been over 5, 6 deaths in that area, and now we lost 2 of our own. We're tired of it. We're tired of it, and the effects of these brownouts and closings has been a lack of training for our membership. We no longer train. You go up there and learn how to jump out a window with a rope. Other than that, there was absolutely no training for our members. The officers who are getting promoted have not gone through officer development in over 6 years. In other words, they're not being properly shown how to be officers. This department has deteriorated into just a functional dysfunction, if you ask me. And the thing is, the members of this department give their heart and soul to everything they do. Now to die. We're tired of it.
Why don't you just remind us of the timeline here? The pictures are taken at the height of the firefight. Did the collapse happen after the fire was declared under control? And at that point, does the collapse relax?
Like I said before, these look like they're in the earlier stages. This picture over here, you see most of the building has collapsed. However, the collapse zone, like I said, is established once you're going through defensive operations until the very last piece of hose line is taken up. Because at that point, you're bringing in heavy equipment to demolish the rest of the building and such forth.
But if the fire's extinguished, they've declared it under control, at that point, is there some procedure where you would then send people in to go check buildings in the aftermath?
Not if it's in the collapse zone, because you're still in that 360-degree radius. You can't do it unless there's a little baby in there. Hey, send somebody in there. But the risk versus benefit analysis is still there. Even if the place is on fire, you hit it from the exterior with a string. And if you got to chalk the building off, you chalk it off.
And then the argument that there should have been more alarms beyond the 5 alarms, how would that have made a difference once the fire's under control?
Well, when a fire is under control, it doesn't mean the fire is out. What it means is you have prevented any further spread of what is there. And then you just pour water upon it because it's not extending anywhere else. That's when a fire goes under control. It doesn't mean the fire is out.
And I mentioned earlier, if you look up the weather reports from that night, had very significant winds, 20 to 30 mile an hour sustained winds. In the fire service, that's the alarm's going. You got problems. You're going to have rapid fire extension. You're going to have embers flying everywhere. And that night they did. They had multiple dwelling fires lit up in the surrounding neighborhood. They had embers everywhere. They asked for special light apparatus. Oh, we don't have it. And then they exhausted all their companies in staging. Usually on these fires, you keep 2, 3, 4 engines in staging, which is basically backup. So if something does light up somewhere, you need someone, and they exhausted all that. So they had nobody in staging. There may have been one company we're hearing of, if that. And it's all a result of the cutbacks and the closures. They don't have the manpower resources anymore to handle stuff like this.
And Mike, the third picture where we can see the members silhouetted by the flames, is that the furniture store?
This is the furniture store on Austin Street. Here's the 3-story section. Here's the 2-story section. We call it step down. Here's the 1-story section. There was 2 doorways on this side of the building, and that's where the hose line was in here towards the back part. This is where they had the extension of fire in the initial stages, and then later on someone said they seen smoke, and somebody must have ordered them back in there.
Gotcha.
And it comes down, pancakes onto this. They're buried in 6, 7 foot of brick. And now he, thank God, just missed. His legs got caught. Another 2 feet, he's dead too.
Is this wall that we're looking at, that existing wall there, the one that actually
This is
toppled
what we
down?
believe came
down on the furniture store.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's the way. Thank you.
Is your information that, and especially because you're calling for his resignation, that Commissioner Ayers, did he ever come to this fire scene? I wasn't out there that morning. And if he had been there, what do you think he should have done?
Call for more alarms, more manpower immediately.
Was he there?
I don't think so. I think he was in the hospital. That's what he got. Anything else, anybody?
So was that firefighter, he wasn't injured, was he?
No, no.
Right. Okay, and why do you think the 4 firefighters were sent into a furniture store and who sent them?
That's a question you have to ask the command.
I would like to know,
Go
is
ahead.
this picture taken after fatal collapse or before?
Before.
Maybe I missed it. At what point in the fire did they order a defensive strategy?
It was from the early stages. The fire actually came in as a rubbish fire, believe it or not. 3 in the morning, engine 2 gets dispatched for a report of a rubbish fire at that location. He arrives on location, lieutenant. He immediately tells the alarm, I need a full first alarm. I have a building with heavy fire conditions, 1st and 2nd floor. Comes back over subsequently and said, give me the 2nd alarm. I have fire now through the entire section. He must have looked around the side, and from that point